Revision. Do I understand the paper and how to decide what I should answer? Do I understand what the question is asking me to do? What is the most effective way of answering the question, why do I need structure? The exam itself lasts an hour and 30 minutes. There are 4 sections, and if we look at minutes with 4 sections, it's divided by 4, leaving you with just 22 minutes per section. This is what you'll see when you first enter the exam. At the top, there's space for your name and surname. Underneath that is centre number and candidate number, both of which will be supplied in the exam. Looking down to the instructions, you need to have at least 2 pens while you're writing this exam, just in case. This piece of information is quite important. The exam provides lots of space for you which you're unlikely to fill. Do not be put off. The last part is advice. You should read each question carefully, keep an eye on the time, try to answer every question in the section that you've chosen, and check your answers if you have time at the end. This is the kind of paper you'll be looking at. We can see that there are 2 sections here, and you'll be choosing either the first section or choosing the second one and answering all the questions in that chosen section. The first thing you want to do is have a look at the C-type questions. Here they are, and decide which one you feel more confident in answering, because that's the one you need to choose. In this case, we're going to go for this particular section. I like that C-type question, and I'm pretty sure I can answer some of the rest. So first thing I ought to do is scrub out this second one so I don't get confused during the exam. So in which order should we answer them? I would suggest you always start off with the C-type question. It's an explain question. It wants you to explain why religious people act the way they do or believe the things they believe. We're going to be using point and explanation for those reasons. The second one we want to have a look at is the D-type question, which we can see here. It always starts with a statement which you will put your own point of view with, and then another person's point of view with reasons. Going on, we'll be looking at B-type questions. These are worth 4 marks, and here you'll need to put your point of view plus 2 reasons. So very similar to the D-type question, except you need to put 3 reasons normally there. And lastly, the A-type question. Brief vocab, something you should have revised. Let's move on. So here's the section, and the first one we're looking at is what is atheism. Now if you're going to be doing this, you need to really be quite clear with what you need to write down. It's a 2-mark vocab question, 1 line only, and you'll have about a minute. Only give yourself a minute for this one. And this is the success criteria or assessment criteria, and you can see here the way that the markers will actually decide how many points you get. We're of course going to be looking at the correct answer, which is worth the most amount of points to marks. So what do you need to do? Well, you need to be clear, very clear. You need to be to the point, that way you don't waste time. And you need to be time effective. So how could we answer this? Here's the question, what is atheism? And very simply, believing that God does not exist. And we can see here that it relates very simply to the correct answer. Vocab questions, 2 marks on every section, so we're looking about 10% of the total mark. So let's move on. I'm going to do it in A, B, C, D for this instance, though of course you know it should be C, D, B, A. So let's have a look here. Do you think prayer is a waste of time? Give 2 reasons for your point of view. Well, again, let's have a look at how we ought to be thinking about this question. You need to give your response. You need to give 2 developed reasons, and I'll go into what developed reason is fairly soon. Time yourself to take 4 minutes. Try not to spend any longer than that, because it is only worth 4 marks. marks. There is a relationship between marks and time. So this is what the examiner would have to check whether you're putting down the right thing, and you can see here that there's information for if you don't believe it's a waste of time, and also if you do think it's a waste of time. You can have a look at the revision CD in terms of indicative content, and we'll be looking at how to use that in another short video. But let's move on for now. This is how the examiner will mark it. So for one brief reason, with your personal response, you only get 1 mark. For 2 marks, you'll be looking at 2 brief reasons or a developed reason. So here it gives quite a good indication. Developed reason, it's a way to contact God. Well, that would be your brief reason, and carrying it on, which makes you become a better Christian. So that's really extending it. For a personal response with 2 reasons, with 1 developed, you'll be having 3 marks there. But of course what we're really interested in is here a personal response with 2 developed reasons, so 2 generally like this, and we'll look at an example. So the first thing I need to make clear is about that developed reason. For example, how are humans different from monkeys? Well, you could say monkeys have tails. Well, that would be your point of your reason, so there's the point. But you also, to make it a developed reason, you need to have an explanation, which in this case is which they use for balance in trees. So looking at our own question, it's a way to contact God, and to take it into a proper explanation down a developed reason, we'll be looking at which makes you a better Christian because of contacting God. So answering a B-type question using structure. Please bear this in mind. You're going to have a booklet which has got several different questions in, and this is really giving you a quick and efficient way of answering them. So let's have a look. You need to put your opinion first. For example, I think that, and it could be that prayer is a waste of time or isn't a waste of time. You'll have your point and explanation, which is 1 developed reason, and you'll have your point and explanation, which is your other one, and we can see that there. So that will give you your full marks for this type of question. Here's the information here. So how should you write it? What can you include? So I've colour-coded different sections of the text, and just have a read and see if you can see how clear this really is, and how short. I think that prayer is not a waste of time, so that's I think that. Going into the red, prayer improves your relationship with God. So part of your reason, or a brief reason, to extend it or develop it, because you're always speaking with Him. A better relationship with God is not a waste of time. So it's bringing it back to that question again. God is not a relationship with God is not a waste of time. So let's move on to the second one. Again in red, your point. If you didn't pray to God, He wouldn't answer with miracles. And of course you need the explanation. That would improve people's lives, and improving people's lives is not a waste of time. So we've got is not a waste of time here, so relating it back to the question, and we have it here again, relating back to the question. So let's apply this with the 4 marks. We can see that personal reason, or personal response, with 1 reason developed, 2nd reason developed. And that's all you need really for a 4-mark answer. Okay, let's move on to the biggest of our questions. If you notice, there's a little asterisk just here. This indicates that you'll be graded on your spelling and grammar for this particular question, which throughout the exam gives you an additional 4 marks. If you're aiming for that AA star, that's really where your writing needs to be taken up a notch. So here we go. Explain how religious upbringing can lead to belief in God, and what kind of information have we got? Well, we need to have an introduction overview. We need to make a series of points made and explained. So these are again similar to the reasons. And this one, even though it's 8 marks, because of that added mark for quality of written work, you're going to have to take about 9 minutes for this. Again, try and keep within the time limit. So what are they looking for? Well, You can have a brief look at this, I won't go through it, but level 1, brief reason, not explaining, only describing, and it really does quickly go up to what we're looking for just next is level 4, which is, of course, here we can see 7 or 8 marks, and it's really trying to show the examiner that you've got a clear understanding of the issue, and that's shown typically by 4 brief reasons, 2 developed reasons, 3 reasons with 1 developed, or a comprehensive explanation. That's normally a big chunk of writing each relating to your previous statement. So I'm going to go for the 4 brief reasons in a moment. There are elements where it looks like it's developed the question out. Point and explanation, point and explanation, point and explanation, and point and explanation. So looking at the way it would work in terms of marks, 2, 2, 2, 2, and that will equal your 8 marks. So very simply, you can see the layout again here. I've just shown you. Parents with the child, so what they do with the child or where they send the child, and we've got church, and having a look here where they hear about God's existence and believe that He exists. Sunday school, hear about God, believe that He exists. Faith school, hear about God and believe that He exists, and read the Bible, they read about God's existence and believe that He exists. Seems very, very simple, but because we're using brief reasons, which you're explaining a little bit, you can actually build up your marks very quickly in this way. So keeping that so you know where we're going with this, and the structure again, I've given you an example, so let's have a look at this. Again, you can see that it's colour coded, so yellow here relates to yellow here. During a Christian upbringing, there'll be many opportunities for children to hear about God, and from that believe that He exists. For example, so here we're going into red, children will be taken to a church. That's your point, really. Explanation of this, why is it relating to this question? This is where they will hear about God's existence and lead them to believe that God exists. Then moving on to Sunday school, again they're here, and it's very similar to what I've gone through the previous slide. And in case you don't believe me, in case you think that no, this is too simple, let's have a look at what the examiner gets in terms of content, what they'd like to see. So here we go, and also referring to the written communication. So here we go. Here's the praying aspect, which you could include church, Sunday school, faith school, church school. Confirmed, well, you know, you can add so many things here that it's difficult to write about everything, and you shouldn't. You're only looking for the 4 brief reasons. So that's question C, just briefly dealt with. Let's go on. So we're going on to question D here, and let's make it bigger. Evil and suffering prove that God does not exist. In your answer, you should refer to at least one religion. Really vital. Lots of people tend to say, yes, I agree, or no, I don't agree, but they don't relate it to a religion. You can mention it in I, saying I as a Christian, or you can say, you know, others as a religious believer, etc., etc. But need to say the Christianity in this particular case is correct. Other questions, of course, you'll be mentioning Islam as well. So let's have a general overview of this. The question itself is in 2 sections. We can see that here and here. You need to give your opinion, which should be here. An opposite opinion, people who may disagree with you. Reasons for each, and it's 6 marks, so 6 minutes would be about right. Let's have a look at the marking criteria here. So 1 mark on I, a simple reason, 2 marks, developed reason, 3 marks, 2 developed reasons. I've mentioned that you can put 3 simple reasons or fully developed reason. It's really up to you. It's the way that you feel confident in writing this. So let's see how this might look if it was sections I and II together. So here we are. This is the balanced answer of D. So I first of all. You could very simply just put 1, 2, 3 reasons for believing that in this case, evil and suffering prove that God doesn't exist, or it doesn't matter. And you can also do the same here. So a real balanced answer, free and free. Though you'll see that other combinations are possible. So here we go, balanced answer using 3 brief reasons for each. Pretty simple here. Let's look at the next way it might be. It could be that you've had 2 developed reasons. You've explained them a little bit more. And that could be put with 3 brief reasons on the II. They are not necessarily having to be written in the same way. So of course 3 brief reasons. You'll get 3 marks here, 3 marks here. And lastly, we talked about a fully developed reason. That's going through a logical argument. So you can have that here and 1, 2, 3, which of course will give you the 3 brief reasons. But of course these 3 could be over that side, that could be there, etc. Again, it's not rocket science, it's really counting the different points you've made to make sure that you've fulfilled what the examiner expects. So let's have a look here. This is the kind of things again that the examiner is looking for. You should be quite aware of these different issues or different reasonings, and let's see how perhaps this could work. So here's a question up here again. Evil and suffering prove that God does not exist. In your answer of the first one, at least one religion. Do you agree? Give reason why people may disagree. So let's have a look. I do not believe that evil and suffering prove that God does not exist. As a Christian, so you're relating this now to let's do that again, to a religion. I believe that God gave people free will, and that this is the fault of humans, that there's so much suffering. So you notice the different coloration here. So that's your first brief reason. It could be that God is testing us. So again, that's briefer than the previous brief one, but still defined as brief. Another reason is that God could have his reasons for allowing evil and suffering to take place. We humans just don't know why. So again, another argument from a religious point of view. So 1, 2 and 3, and that's very similar to what we've seen before. Having a look at this one, which actually relates to here, other people who don't believe in God would say that evil and suffering proves that God does not exist, because if God is omnibenevolent, it means he loves us and would not want us to suffer. If he is omnipotent, he could stop suffering. So because he doesn't, they would say that this proves God doesn't exist. Really kind of clear, but you can see that it's all one fully explained reason. You're making connections all the way through and making the statement at the very end. So really, again, not rocket science. Said it before, I'll probably say it again. Let's have a look at an overview of all 3 then. So you're having a look here, that would be your B. I think that point explanation, develop reason 1, point explanation, develop reason 2. Going on to the C question, point explanation, point explanation, point explanation, point explanation. But with a brief intro at the beginning, just setting out what the question has been asking you. I've given this example here, the 3 and the 3 brief reasons, but of course you know you can balance it in any way. So that's it. That's just a quick overview of the exam and possibly how you should use structure to answer them. And have a look at the revision material. Have a look at the booklet with the questions, and keep on practicing. The more you practice these structures, the better and more confident you will be in the exam, and hopefully more successful. So that's me for now, and watch the other ones. Don't get too sick of my voice.